Hello, my fellow Ripplers. This is Chris Miles, your cash flow expert and anti-financial advisor. Welcome you out for a wonderful show, a show that's for you and about you. Those of you that work so freaking hard for your money, and you want your money to start working harder for you now. You want that freedom, that cash flow, that prosperity today, not 30 or 40 bazillion years from now, but right now. So you have that cash flow, that freedom, that ability to be able to do what you want, to be with those you love whenever the heck you want. But it's not just for your own comfort and convenience, because as a Rippler, you want to create a ripple effect through the lives of others, because as you are prospered financially, you can bless more people's lives. And I'm so excited. I'm so proud to be one of these Ripplers with you guys. Thank you so much for allowing me to create that ripple effect through you. And in fact, that you guys have been binging on these episodes, because I know there's almost 400 to binge on. So best of luck to you. Some of you guys have already done it, and you've freaked me out, honestly. It's amazing. You guys can do that. That's awesome. But again, thank you so much for doing that, for sharing and becoming a part of this movement, because without you guys, I cannot create a ripple effect unless it's through you. So thank you so much. As a quick reminder, check out our website, moneyripples.com. You can see all the great stuff on there, blogs, and other information on there as well, including a free ebook called Beyond Rice and Beans, 7 Secrets to Free Up Cash Today, that you can download for free now. All right, so today I want to bring on a special guest, and this is a guy that we've had our circles, our social circles interconnect, so to speak, right? I have got on here Gary Boomershine. Now, one thing that's most impressive, one of the most impressive things about Gary, beyond some of the things he does in his personal life and who he is he actually founded realestateinvestor.com back in 2005. How he even got that website is amazing, incredible. But if you've ever been to realestateinvestor.com, that is Gary. He's actually helped a lot of people with real estate investing, home buying businesses. He's done a lot within real estate. If there's been anything with real estate investing, he's done it. He's done even stuff in the note space. We actually had Eddie Speed on a few months back. He's done a lot of things with notes. He's actually helped, especially if you're an active investor, especially if you're a wholesaler or you do flipping or anything of that nature. One of the biggest things he does, he's got his REI vault, and he actually caters to these top producing real estate agents or investors or hedge funds, where you help them actually increase on their sales and helping them to create those systems to make them more efficient and buy your time back. On top of that, Gary also resides in Northern California with his wife and 2 daughters, where he continues to manage his team. And the guy is just a rock star. So Gary, welcome to our show.
Yeah, Chris, super excited to be here. I know that we've been going back and forth to get this thing scheduled. I have you on my podcast as well, realestateinvestor.com huddle. So man, I'm here to share. I'm here to give as much really good quality information as possible to your loyal listeners and have some fun. Love what you do, and hopefully I can deliver back tenfold to your group.
No, I know you will, man. Well, to take us back, I know you started doing investing in 2004. Like, what even got you down that route in the first place?
Yeah. So I came from a real estate family, so very entrepreneurial family. I was a licensed agent. I just turned 50, by the way, and I was a licensed. Thank you. And I was a licensed agent 3 weeks after turning 18. So 1987. Got my real estate license and holding open houses and door knocking and cold calling. And then we had some rental properties in the San Francisco Bay Area. So that's how I started. I'll tell you, I didn't want to go down that path. The technology was just starting to take off, and I got a computer engineering degree and then got recruited to one of the largest technology consulting firms in the world. And did that for 5 years. And then all of a sudden Silicon Valley was popping up. And so I got recruited, and I did 4 technology enterprise software companies where I moved into sales, selling big ticket software. And it was awesome experience, but I'll tell you, man, you want to talk about the rabbit wheel and working the job. I had 2004, when I went off full time to do real estate, we had a 2-month-old baby. We had a 4-year-old baby, 4-year-old daughter. That 2-month-old daughter turned 16 today, by the way. And I was 180,000 miles on United. They never saw me. I was a total absent dad because in the Valley, it's, great experience, you're making good money, but you're working 90-hour weeks, and the stress was ridiculous. So my wife and I, and we also lived through the whole .com, up and down. One day, there was a company, I was employee number 12. I was worth 7.4 million on paper. And then the whole .com thing like wiped it out. We got stuck on this huge like tax gain. So 2004, my wife and I were like, you know what, there's gotta be something more.
Mm-hmm.
And we said, let's go back to our roots. And, I will say I got really excited about passive income, read Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I was going down the apartment path to buy passive income apartments like my brother had done.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a little sidetracked. So there was a seminar, about 1,000 people, and this guy came up with a particular course at the time, this is 2004, talking about buying foreclosures and negotiating with the bank. So I kind of got distracted, and then it was great. I did hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these deals, and buying and flipping properties. But I got lost because what happens is, and I think a lot of us that are entrepreneurs, this happens, where we manifest, we leave for a better life, and then we re-manifest the old life of everything that we hated. We started again.
Right.
And so that happened to me. I became a workaholic again. And this time I really hated the boss because the boss was me. So, in my journey, I fast forward to today. So from 2004 to 2013, I was really a workaholic, making great money, but I was not really living the life that I wanted, and my family suffered. And it was really in 2013 where I stepped back and said, really, what kind of life do I really want? And I burnt the old life down. I took it all the way down to the foundation, and we started back. And I said, I want to actually have a life. I want to spend time with my wife and kids. And so I've been doing that. And I love sharing a lot of the lessons learned. Like I have a 5-10-3 rule, because it's really easy for us to get lost as entrepreneurs. And so I just tell everybody, if you wake up earlier and push your start of your day out later, now you've got ample time. And then as a CEO, I only work 3 hours a day in my business. And so I have to be doing the money-making activities. So I'm forced not to work 12-hour workdays.
You have to prioritize it.
That's right. And during that time, those 5 hours that I have just personal time for myself, I come up with Gary Keller's one thing. And I come up with what's the one thing that I can do to move the marker. And then I do that before I check social media, email. I haven't even checked voicemail on my cell phone in probably 3 years. It says, don't leave me a voicemail, like text me, right?
So you can ignore that voicemail I just left you a couple weeks ago. So I appreciate you telling me that.
Yeah, but no, it's fun, man. I love what you do. I can just tell you, I work with a lot of wholesalers and a lot of active real estate operators today that are fix and flip. And I see a lot of people were similar to me. They were total workaholics. They're slaves to their job. And I love working with them and helping them changing their life, right? Because didn't we all get into this business for financial and lifestyle freedom, right? And that really comes down to passive income. And so wholesaling and flipping is active income. It's the cash now box, but you got to be thinking about cash flow and cash later. And without doing those 3 boxes together, you go nowhere. So.
That's absolutely true. Let's go into that a little bit more. Like, because the one thing I love, and I tell this to a lot of my own clients as well as some of the people on the show too, is, I love to tell people that when we bring people on, it's nice when someone's been through a full market cycle, or in your case, a couple market cycles, right? Like you've been through the ups and the downs and everything else. Like, first off, what is it you've learned? Like maybe what are some of the harder lessons you've learned that you now today attribute to some of your success?
Yeah.
And then secondly, would be with that, really, what is it you see looking forward into the future? Like, where do you see the opportunities coming forward?
Yeah, great question. Lessons learned. Yes, here's real estate has been a cycle for over 100 years. So
Yeah.
it's been a 7-year cycle almost to the day.
Hmm.
A lot of people call that the Shemitah. It's the 7-year cycle. And this is the first time in like 100 years we've gone beyond that cycle.
Yeah.
We're like year 10 or year 11. And there are a lot of people that are basically, oh, this is the new normal, full steam ahead.
Uh-huh.
And I say all the signs are there that we've seen historically in these. It's always the end stage is a euphoric stage of real estate.
Right.
Everybody's jumping in. There's massive, money's cheap. Institutional investors are pouring trillions of dollars. And
Hmm.
that's usually a sign of a market turn. I will also say that some of the biggest transitions of wealth happen in those turns, but the transition could also wipe out. And there's going to be a lot of people that are wiped out. This is a time, from my perspective, to number one, just be reflecting and watchful. So I think taking chips off the table right now is super important. Having passive investments. I love first position notes.
Mm.
That's one of the things I do. I like to I do those all the time. They're super easy to invest in once you know how to do it. But
Yeah.
I got a guy that put $1 million down, a borrower put $1 million down payment. And so my loan to value that I'm funding is at like 27%,
Hmm.
right? The worst downturn and an earthquake turning this building into rubble as my downside is fine with me if I had to take it back. So
Yeah.
I'm doing that. I get a 9% return. I'm definitely, I think the wholesalers, that's a great strategy because it's super hot right now if you're doing active investing
Hmm.
because it doesn't allow a lot of risk. I think the full rehabbers could be in trouble when the market turns because retail and rehabbers usually get hit hard. And
Yeah.
so I see a lot of the smart money is like moving out of that and into
Yep.
wholesaling. I think turnkey investing is absolutely fantastic. I think
Mhm.
that's a great, and I know that you have a lot of guest speakers and you teach that as well, but buying turnkey, especially in what I call the linear markets.
Mm.
So the linear markets are the ones like Omaha and Memphis,
Right.
Kansas City, that are pretty flat, steady Eddie, that have nice rates of return, but they don't have the big swings. I think that's a really great place and to put your money.
Yeah.
I think you were asking about what I see coming.
Hmm.
So 2022, our Federal Reserve, the government, cannot actually even cover the debt payment.
Yeah.
So it's insanity, right?
Hmm.
The amount of, and we have a fiat currency as well, which adds a whole new, like it's made out of nothing. It's actually all debt. That's a whole rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But one of the measures that happens with the Federal Reserve is they print more money, which we're seeing, right?
Hmm.
So that means massive inflation. And so I think that people that are in assets, not debt, are going to make a fortune in this turn. So if you're able to, first position notes is a great place, but if you are holding property and you can actually survive a downturn with
Hmm.
around cash flow, I think that you are going to see a massive opportunity.
Yeah.
And I do also see that people are loading up with debt. So I'm always concerned if the debt ratio is too high. You really should be able to survive an 18-month turn. If we look at all these the history of the markets, it's usually about 18 months where real estate is just dead,
Yeah.
right? And usually a lot of foreclosure auctions,
Hmm.
and there's just this reset. And the
Yeah.
musical chairs, right? The music goes off. People are trying to find their chair. A lot of people get wiped out. Those things go to the bank.
Hmm.
And then there's the buying frenzy again.
Yeah.
So I think right now, taking chips off the table, reassessing your portfolio, getting things into passive income. You don't, I see a lot of people that are running really fast and they're totally focused on top line revenue. They're trying to do 100 deals a year or 300 deals a year. And you ask them about their net, of how much net are you making? And it's terrible. They don't even know. A lot of these guys don't even know.
Yeah.
And I think that's a kiss of death. So knowing your numbers, I would rather, instead of doing 100 deals, what if you did 50, but you netted more, right? Yeah. You could do that, but you need to know your numbers and take some chips off the table. I will also say, have a plan. I see so many people that they have no plan for this business, their life. And I think the most precious commodity is not the money, it's actually our time.
Yeah.
And so, coming up with a plan, I did an exercise. This is through, CEO coaches that have been coaching me, but also Frank Kern was one of the guys, but kind of coming up with your perfect day.
Yeah.
So every year I write, looking next year, looking back, I wake up one morning, what exactly am I doing? And who am I doing it with? What does life look like for me? And I'm constantly thinking about that, of what the plan is, because otherwise you wake up a year and you got more gray hair and you don't have anything more to show for it. And your kids are pretty much off at college and it just disappeared. Right. So having a plan, not focused just on having $10 million in your bank account, but being focused more on the passive income. I'll tell everybody on the show, I was just in Mexico at a mastermind. I shared this with like 5 or 6 of the guys. I bought, I don't know, 500, 600 houses. I regret selling every one. I regret selling every property. I sold those properties because I needed the money to live on, right? Because we were doing this full time. But I really regret selling every property. One of my good friends, David Dodge, he has a saying: keep the best, sell the rest. Right. Keep the best, sell the rest. And I really believe that. I look at the money that my wife and I have. Our wealth building really has come from the real estate investments that we've done and the stuff on the real estate side. And then, I maybe it's just because I'm 50. I'm a big Dave Ramsey follower. We don't do credit card debt. We live really conservatively. We have a budget. And I think it's really easy as an entrepreneur to be focused on more, and you forget about the personal stuff. So we buy our cars. I told everybody this last week, I bought a truck. And that's kind of, everybody's like, yeah, what's a big deal? Well, I'm in California. I bought a Ford F-250 diesel.
You're killing people out there.
Right. No, everybody looks at me, but I bought it for $33,000. Couple-year-old truck, got a great deal on it with 30,000 miles. I drove it for 2.5 years, and I sold it for 34,000. Wow! So I made 2.5 years. I drove a car and made $1,000, and then I did it again. So I buy my cars a little older. They're still new with low mileage, and that money is all that money that I save. I immediately put that same amount of what a payment would be, and I put it into an interest-bearing account or start lending on it.
Yeah.
And that has been the life changer. And I know a lot of my friends, there's a lot of people, even big names, that if you really look at their balance sheet, you think that they're making tons of money. In reality, they don't have passive income. Right. They really don't have a big bank account because it all goes right back out the back door.
Yeah, it's true. I think there's a lot of wisdom what you taught there. There's a ton of wisdom, actually, because any of us have gone through those cycles. Like you kind of realize, you want to take low risk, create high returns, right? Yeah. And I love, one is you're talking about really having cash, like really being liquid, especially when those opportunities show up. Because, when you get that 18-month cycle, whenever it is, that's when everybody's trying to sell, like that musical chairs. That's when they're like, cheap, whatever, like get rid of it. And that's where your opportunity shows up to create massive wealth, is when people are desperate.
Yeah. Yeah, I say this a lot. There are three buckets in real estate. There's cash now, there's
Mhm.
cash flow, and there's cash later.
Yeah.
And you got to be focused on all three. And I see a lot of people that are just focused, like all the wholesalers and flippers, they're very focused on cash now.
Right.
And it's a trap.
Hmm.
I mean, if you look on every street corner in the world and you look at the biggest buildings, right, or any buildings, they're not wholesalers. They're
Yeah.
not flippers, right? They're banks, right?
Mhm.
Because the business model works. So how close can we get to do what the banks do? We can't print money, right? We'd go to jail for that.
Yeah.
But how can we do almost everything else? Their business model works.
Hmm.
So cash now is a job,
Yeah.
and it's okay. You either have a job or you do some kind of flipping that generates some capital. But you really should be taking everything, every penny, and paying down debt or putting into passive income, cash flow generators. Rental properties are great. Notes are great. And then cash later usually comes from the appreciation.
Hmm.
And I think that there's so many entrepreneurs and investors in this market today that are going to look back in 7 or 8 years and just be heartbroken of the opportunity they missed, because you want
Yes.
cash now, cash flow, cash later, and you really don't have to wait a single day. It doesn't matter where you're at to start focusing on that, right? You don't have to
Right.
say, oh, I need to buy another 100 properties first before I buy rental properties. You can do that today. You
Yeah.
can, you can be a fractional owner in a turnkey property, right?
Yeah.
And then if you start making good money, you should be looking into things like what you teach and help people set up, like the infinite banking system,
Hmm.
putting money into a 401k or an IRA. I think it's, and you can put hundreds of dollars. It doesn't have to be like some big number. Start simple. A
Right.
couple years ago, my wife and I'd go every time I went to the bank, I'd pull out, $400. That's how much I could get. So I
Hmm.
pulled out $400, and I did that for probably a year. And then all of a sudden I've got massive cash reserves. And it's
Right.
funny because I went to a tax or a financial advisor, super conservative, and I was showing them like our portfolio, and they say, well, where do you store that cash? And I'm like, what do you mean, where do I store it? Like cash? And he goes, like at a bank. And I go
Cash.
greenbacks, like a shovel. My wife is just laughing. It's like, no, it's like, it's the buckets of, I love gold and silver, but not a
Yeah.
lot, but big commodities are gold and silver metals. Not a ton, but part of my portfolio. And I think what I'm short on right now, because I've got the bigger tax bill that I've had, I'm looking to, and I'll probably use our realestateinvestor.com community for some of these bigger properties.
Hmm.
But being able to go in and get, I need the depreciation, or I need the tax advantage depreciation, the forced
Right.
depreciation. So I'm a little short on that right now.
Awesome. Well, cool, man. This is good stuff. I appreciate it. Now, if people want to follow you or learn more about what your companies do, because you have a lot of great expertise, especially for those that are active investors, right? What's the best way they can do that?
Yeah. So I have a podcast. I started that about a year ago. It's called realestateinvestor.com huddle.
Hmm.
And that's out there. And we actually just, we did our, this is like you're within the next couple of days, a big press announcement coming from realestateinvestor.com. We actually just officially acquired / merged with two companies, and
Wow.
all under the realestateinvestor.com brand.
Hmm.
We're super excited, and you can find out about all of that at realestateinvestor.com. I will say we're the largest marketer um, in the real estate niche. So a lot of active investors are looking for the deals. They're going direct to the seller.
Right.
And so I provide a turnkey service and software platform to do that. Where in this market, it's direct mail and it's heavy cold calling
Right.
and outbound, marketing. And then to do it successfully, you really need to have a team,
Yes.
and then you need a follow-up system. It's all in the follow-up. So we've done over 42 million pieces of direct mail. I think we've done over 2 million phone calls. So our team not only does the marketing, but it does all the pre-screening and the phone conversation with the seller and the appointment scheduling. So the investor or their sales team can like take an appointment, and then it's almost like a diamond mine. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm just going to send out some direct mail. You know, if you were a retailer that owned a diamond mine and you got these beautiful diamond rings that you're selling to people for tens of thousands of dollars, somebody still has to go and mine those diamonds. They got to go into a diamond mine with a pickaxe. And that's the mining and refining process. And it's a lot of work. And I see a lot of investors make the mistake of doing it themselves and wonder why they're working 90-hour weeks. So we solve that for about the cost of one virtual assistant. We provide the turnkey service to do that. And then with the merger, we actually have a very unique proprietary set of software to be able to pull names and addresses and phone numbers, load them into the auto dialer, all the follow-up, et cetera, for as little as $97 a month. So yeah, you can check us out if you're an active investor. It really is for somebody that's more active, even if you're new. But you can go to realestateinvestor.com. I've got a lot of free stuff, all of our lessons learned and guides on how to do it. And then if it's a good fit, you can always schedule a call with us. And
excellent.
Love it. We got probably 400 or 500 active investors that we do this for.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great tools, great systems, processes, people. You got it all, man. So appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you so much for today. And again, everybody will put those links in the show notes. So you can actually follow Gary, check out his podcast, as well as his websites and his tools and resources. Lots that you guys can really just ingest, through there. So again, Gary, thank you so much. And everybody else, thank you for being on our show today. Again, thank you for sharing and being a part of this. And remember, it's about action. Like, it's not just about being a hearer of the word, but a doer as well. So go out, take what you've learned, make it a wonderful and prosperous day. And we'll see you later.